Hi everybody! I thought that it would be helpful to introduce you to the Center on the Social and Emotional Foundations for Early Learning. This is a resource that I refer to regularly, and I did as a teacher too, and I still do now. And I thought that for you all this would be a good resource to start looking at. And it's actually where I got your assignment that is due this week, the Transition Strategies assignment. So here you'll find a more in-depth description of what it means to plan for transitions. So transitions refer to a change, and there are typically three types of transitions that we think about in educational settings. Transitions between activities, transitions between multiple settings, that might be coming from home to school, at school to childcare, from childcare back to home, from home to evening activities. And then transitions between programs, thinking about 3-year-olds who are transitioning from a toddler program to a preschool program, preschoolers who are transitioning to kindergarten, kindergartners who are transitioning into a full day of first grade. For the assignment, you were asked to focus on transitions between activities. So why is it important to address transitions between activities? Well, transitions take time, and children often spend a lot of time waiting, and we know that during those wait times, we will see an increase in mistaken behaviors. Transitions can be stressful and frustrating for children if they don't know the expectations. Skills such as cleaning up may actually reduce transition times and may lead to more time for children to be engaged in activities. When children are taught what they should be doing, they are less likely to see problem behaviors. Many preschool teachers and elementary school teachers consider children's ability to independently make transitions as a key social skill. So here is an example of the assignment that you were asked to complete this week. You can see it's a table. You're going to list the transition. You're going to list the transition times, and then you will list what you were doing before. That's the column just to the right of the first column with words. You will describe what is happening before the transition. Then in the middle boxes, during the transition, and then on the far right, after the transition. And we will look at some specific examples in just a minute. So, strategies that support smooth transitions between activities. Thinking specifically beforehand, you should plan your schedule to include a minimum number of transition times. Consider what the children and adults will be doing during these times. Provide verbal and nonverbal cues for transitions. That might be giving a 5-minute warning. That might be setting up a clock so the kids can see specifically what time an activity will begin, or maybe using a timer. Teach children the expectations of the routine. So if you have a specific routine where they have to do certain things within that transition, make sure that your expectations are clear. Minimize the number of transitions in which all children have to do the same thing at the same time. It's those instances where children are doing the same thing at the same time where wait time usually increases, which again also increases the likelihood of mistaken behaviors to arise. Transitions that support smooth, or activities that support smooth transitions. So during the transition, sing songs, play word or guessing games, recite rhymes, do finger plays, whatever you can do to keep the children engaged and to keep them moving through the transition smoothly. Plan a gradual increase or decrease in the level of activity, and find a good balance of active and quiet play during the day. Allow children adequate time to finish activities. So if you're going to start free play before lunchtime, make sure that you're not giving them just 15 minutes to engage in free play. It's hard for some children to get started, and if they're asked to wrap up or clean up too soon without having an adequate amount of time to engage in their play, they're not going to be ready. Plan something for those children who finish an activity quickly so they are not waiting without something to do. So some children are going to be done, maybe it's small group time before everybody else. Make sure they have a backup plan so that the child isn't just sitting at the table waiting for you to move on to the next thing. Sometimes I used to have table puzzles or crayons and markers or a game that a child could play independently, just something to keep them engaged while we're waiting to move on to the next thing as a group. And then after the transition, provide positive attention or feedback to children following those smooth transitions. So we talked about praise a little bit in one of our presentations this week. Just know that praise should be used intentionally and specifically to provide feedback for what children are doing correctly. And then give very specific positive feedback after transitions. Say things like, wow, I noticed that you took the time to clean up and then you came right over to wash your hands. So state specifically what you saw the child do. Give them adequate feedback so that they make that connection and they can do it the next time. And then promote independence during transitions. Allow children to move individually from one area to another area when they complete an activity. Teach children to help one another. Children, for the most part, naturally want to help. The more that you give them the opportunity to do so, the more they are going to feel that sense of community in your classroom. Help children self-monitor during transitions. This means giving constant reminders and verbal feedback about how the transition is going. Okay, so this is actually your assignment. Sorry, it says activity at 3 at the top. That was part of the presentation before I modified it. So this is actually an example of the assignment that you will turn in at the end of this week. So you will state the transition, and you can see here in that first column, 8:20 to 8:25 is listed as arrival from buses and go to the classroom. And then you can see what happens before, during, and after the transition. So before the transition, the adult is present, ready at the bus to greet and wait for students, and then prompt children to line up with a buddy. Then during the transition, this is as the teacher is walking from the bus to the classroom. The teacher guides a discussion about things the children saw as they rode the bus to school. So that's happening as the children are walking from the bus to the classroom. And then after the transition, once the children are in the classroom, the teacher gives the children a high five as they enter the room. So that's what I mean for intentionally planning those moments before, during, and after a transition. I hope that that was helpful. I hope that that gives you a little more feedback about what I mean by transitions. Let me know if you have any questions. All right, and that is it.